Om Sambuddha Buddhaya Namaha. Let us begin with chronology regarding Buddha. In 1876, the Archaeological Survey of India, they excavated Nalanda University, the ruins of Nalanda University. And in the same year, they also excavated the main temple of Buddha in Bodh Gaya, where he became a Buddha, awakened, illumined. Now, after 20 years, the Archaeological Survey of India again excavated the base of a pillar which was known to the local people in Lumbini, but people did not know that it was a broken pillar and it is standing for what purpose, and people did not know. So the archaeological department they excavated the base of the pillar and they found out Ashoka's inscription there. You see, in very good condition. As Ashoka is saying that after 20 years of his coronation, he is visiting this place, the spot of Buddha's birth, and he is making the whole village tax-free. Only they have to give 1/8 of their agricultural product to the government. That means a great relief to the people of Lumbini, and he worshipped in that place, etc. Those things were found out in Brahmi script. 4 years later, you see, a Bengali gentleman, P.C. Mukherjee, who was employed by the Archaeological Survey, he found out the ruins of your Kapilavastu in Nepal. Now, a little before that, another gentleman, Mr. Pepe, who was a British citizen but certainly of Italian origin, he had his property on the Indian side of the border, and in his own property he excavated another city which has also is claiming to be recognized as Kapilavastu. So for the moment, for the last about 125 years, we have two Kapilavastus, and one in the Nepal side and one in the Indian side. Though the Nepal side, this has more prominence, this Kapilavastu. So Lumbini, Kapilavastu, and Bodh Gaya temple, and related to Buddha, but because it was a Buddhist university, many centuries later, Nalanda University, were all found out within 25 years. So this cascade of discoveries, you see, sent a ripple throughout the world. In 1879, this poet, British poet Edwin Arnold, wrote The Right of Asia, which is an account of Buddha. And we find its ripples in the conversation of Sri Ramakrishna, in the behavior of certain of his disciples who were studying Buddhism and Buddha, and also Ramakrishna himself is talking about Buddha. He is saying that Buddha was not an astika. His condition is between asti and nasti, he says, and he was bodha sharupa, that is illumination itself. You see, that is his status. And another disciple of Ramakrishna, the famous playwright and actor Girish Ghosh, he composed Buddha Deva Charita. So we have talked about two Kapilavastus. These two Kapilavastus are only 41 kilometers apart. One is the Nepal side, one in the Indian side. Now, let us now come to the life of Buddha. See, Buddha was born as a prince, to Shuddhadana and Maya Devi. Shuddhadana was the king of Kapilavastu, and when she was in advanced pregnancy, she was proceeding to her father's home. She could not reach the father's home. On the way in the forest, Lumbini, it is said that during childbirth, she took support of a branch of a shal tree, and gave birth to the child. So, and within 7 days, she died. So the child became motherless. So at that point, the king married the sister of Maya, Mahaprajapati Gautami, who took charge of the child. And so Buddha, we are talking about Buddha, but at that point he was not known as Buddha. His name was Siddhartha. And Siddhartha is, he was the adopted child of Gautami, so he is called Gautama. So Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha is the name, and Gautama is fixing, the child to the mother. So Siddhartha Gautama. Now we read, in the books that as a young boy he came across the old person, a sick person, an ascetic, etc. And that he had, dispassion in him aroused. This seems to be a little, mythological. That means to give a painting, people try to image, this is image afflicting. It does not seem like that. But since Buddha was a Buddha, a divine person, it is certain that from his birth he had certain amount of dispassion and philosophical reflection, which all great teachers have since their early boyhood. So Siddhartha Gautama had this. Now a child was born, and the wife Yashodhara was a cousin of Siddhartha. When the child was born, Buddha named the child Rahula, which means something which obstructs light, because he saw that immediately after the birth of the child, he had great affection for the child, and he knew that it would cause a tremendous obstacle in his path, because he was already searching for light and truth. way out of suffering, you see. He saw suffering everywhere in the human condition. So the birth of the child, as I have said, that it created tremendous commotion in his heart. And here is a song which depicts this condition of Siddhartha. It is taken from Buddhadeva Charita of Girish Ghosh.
জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াই কোথা হতে আসি কোথা ভেসে যায় জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াই ফিরে ফিরে আসি কত কাঁদে হাসি ফিরে ফিরে আসি কত কাঁদে হাসি কোথা যায় সদা ভাবি গোতায় কে খেলায় আমি খেলিবা কেন কে খেলায় আমি খেলিবা কেন জাগিয়ে ঘুমাই কুহাকে যেন হে কেমন ঘোর হবে না কি ভোর হে কেমন ঘোর হবে না কি ভোর অবিরাম গতি নিয়ত ধাই জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াই জানি না কে বা এসেছি কোথায় কেন বা এসেছি কে বা নিয়ে যায় ভেসে ভেসে কত নানা দেশে যায় ভেসে ভেসে কত নানা দেশে চারিদিকে ওঠে নানা আমি এই আছি আর এই যে নাই জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াই কোথা হতে আসি কোথা ভেসে যাই জুড়াইতে চাই কোথায় জুড়াই।
Now, it is said that on that very night, the boy was born. That night itself, in the dead of the night, Siddhartha got up and woke up the charioteer Chandaka and asked him to put saddle on the white horse Kantaka, and he requested him to proceed towards the cottage where Yashodhara was sleeping with the baby. So there he went and said his farewells in silence, and then left the palace to the eastern gate, and the chariot was proceeding towards the forest, nearest forest. At the entrance of the forest, he got down from the chariot, exchanged his clothes with the charioteer Chandaka, and he shaved his head. That means he was prepared for this thing. He shaved his head and entered into the forest. It is said that Chandaka, asked his master that, why are you doing this? Your wife, your father will be extremely sad and they will suffer. Siddhartha replied that it is not for causing suffering to his wife or to his father that he is doing this. He is seeing suffering everywhere in the world. So he must try to put an end to this. And if he fails in his attempt, then at least at the time of his death, he will console himself that I have at least tried my best. So this was the reply Siddhartha gave, and he entered the forest, and he was walking and almost 175 miles to the east, a little inclination to the south. He went there in Vaishali to meet his guru, Alar Kalam. Alar Kalam was a proto-Sankhya philosopher and also a sadhaka. He used to meditate, and he taught Buddha his way. And he said that he taught Buddha how to reach by meditation the sphere of nothingness. So then your Alar Kalam wanted him to stay on, to take the charge of his community because he was already old, but Buddha left him and he went to Rajgir, in the place of hot spring, which is even today very famous. So Rajgir, he met his second guru, Uddaka Ramaputra. And Uddaka Ramaputra also taught him meditation, and he taught him, you see, the kind of meditation which is called Nevasanna Nasanna Itana, which means the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. You see, what does it mean? We do not know, but you see, it is interesting that that Swami Vivekananda, as an adolescent boy, was one day meditating with his mind empty. That means no thought. It is a very difficult type of meditation. But he succeeded in it, and after that he was sitting in his room when he found that piercing the southern wall of the room, a monk appeared. This monk had the image of perfect serenity and a lack of interest in anything around him. Now he was approaching slowly. Naren, Vivekananda was then known as Naren. You see, he is not yet a monk. And Naren was afraid. He ran out of the room. Then he thought that I had made a mistake. Probably there would have been a message. So he entered again into the room. He found no one. Throughout his life, he used to believe that that day he encountered Buddha himself. So this kind of meditation must be the Buddha's meditation. Now, Siddhartha left his second guru also and went to Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya is just outside Gaya. In those days it was just a place outside Gaya by the side of the tiny river Uruvela, which is now known as Lilajan. Now, he sat there for meditation and was doing tremendous austerity, almost avoiding food, which made him extremely emaciated and weak. It is said that one day he saw two musicians pass by and they were discussing that if you see, tighten your string too much, the string will snap. And if it is loose, then the tune will not come. So from that he got the idea of the middle path. Neither indulgence nor tremendous austerity. You go in between, in a balanced way. That is the way. So at that time, one day, a lady called Sujata, who used to live nearby, Sujata's your village nearby has been discovered also, because there is a stupa, Sujata stupa there. So it is not far away. This lady Sujata saw Siddhartha emaciated, and he was so emaciated that she took it to be a tree spirit. And she thought that due to the blessing of this spirit, she had a child. So, you see, as a kind of your gift to the spirit, he brought a bowl of rice pudding. You see, rice and milk pudding, you see. And Buddha took it. And since he took it, that means he was no longer observing the tremendous austerity which attracted 5 disciples. The disciples were disgusted that the Guru is no longer walking along the correct path, so they left him. And Buddha sat alone for meditation. It is said that in each quarter of the night he ascended higher and higher planes of meditation. And when the night was over, he was totally illumined. He reached the highest level of your meditation and got illumination. It happened under an ashwatha tree, which is till now existent. This is it. Now, it is said that Buddha developed naturally, Patanjali discusses it, that any great yogi will automatically develop certain supernormal powers which ordinary people do not have. Yes. So Buddha also developed it, and through this power he came to know that his ex-disciples were in Sarnath, the present-day Sarnath, which is near Benares. So he went there. It was known as Ishipatana in those days. Ishipatana means Rishipatana, the residence of rishis. Because not far from the place where Buddha began to preach in Sarnath, only a few meters from there, it is the birthplace of Sriangshnath, one of the Tirthankars, Jaina Tirthankars. Then in this place, the deer park, it is a deer park, it's a Mrigalava deer park, so it was famous for the residence of rishis. That is, many great souls, were living in nearby places. So, it is almost 211 kilometers from Bodh Gaya, this place, Sarnath. So Buddha began to teach them, and it is recorded that it is known as Dharma Chakra Pravartana in Buddhic literature. That means the commencement of the rolling of the wheel of Dharma, Dharma Chakra Pravartana. Now he is addressing the ex-disciples. Bhikkhus, these 2 extremes ought not to be practiced by one who has gone forth from the household life. What are the 2? There is devotion to the indulgence in sense pleasures, which is low, common, the way of ordinary people, unworthy and unprofitable. And there is devotion to self-mortification, which is painful, unworthy and unprofitable. Avoiding both these extremes, the Tathagata, referring to Buddha himself, Tathagata means one who has gone to that place. So the Tathagata has realized the middle path. It gives vision, it gives knowledge, it leads to calm, it leads to insight, to enlightenment, to nirvana. And what is the middle path? It is simply the Noble Eightfold Path, namely right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This is the middle path realized by the Tathagata, which gives vision, which gives knowledge, and which leads to calm, to insight, to enlightenment, to nirvana. The noble path of suffering is this. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, Sickness is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow and lamentation, pain, grief, despair, all are suffering. Association with the unpleasant is suffering. Dissociation from the pleasant is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates of attachment are suffering. The noble truth of the origin of suffering is this: it is this thirst which produces re-existence and re-becoming, bound up with passionate greed. It finds fresh delight now here and now there, namely thirst for self-pleasures, thirst for existence and becoming, and thirst for self-annihilation. The noble truth of cessation of suffering is this: it is the complete cessation of that very thirst, giving it up, renouncing it, emancipating oneself from it, detaching oneself from it. Buddha preached for a period of 45 years, roughly, in the valley of Duam, that means between Ganga and Yamuna, and died at Kushinagar. A symposium held in 1988 puts his date of passing away within 20 years of 400 BCE. That means before Christ. Now, that means in the symposium, many scholars, they try to give dates to the life of Buddha, and his passing away, you see, the different dates were within 20 years of 400 BC. So this is a solid, that means chronologically a solid pillar to know, you see. So Buddha's life and his teachings, as I say, you see, created a new kind of your inspiration, a movement, due to the cascade of discoveries we have discussed already in the last quarter of 19th century, and this continues even today. So, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Buddhebhyo Namaha.